Steve Jobs once said, "Real artists ship." But here's the shocking truth. The man who revolutionized technology wasn't actually a perfectionist in the way you think. In fact, his greatest successes came from embracing imperfection and shipping products that weren't perfect yet. Today, we're diving deep into the Steve Jobs principle that could transform your life and career forever. Drop a comment right now with the word "ship" if you've ever held back from launching something because it wasn't perfect yet. I'm your host at Meets Wisdom, and if you're ready to break free from the perfectionism trap that's keeping you stuck, make sure to hit that subscribe button and let's dive in. Section 1. The perfectionism trap. Let's start with a hard truth. Perfectionism isn't actually about excellence. It's about fear. Fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear of not being good enough. And this fear is paralyzing millions of people right now. Consider this shocking statistic. 70% of entrepreneurs never launch their first business idea because they're waiting for the perfect moment or the perfect product. They spend years planning, researching, and refining, but never actually doing. Take Sara Blakely, founder of Spanx. She didn't wait for the perfect product. Her first prototype was literally cut-up pantyhose. She didn't have a business degree, didn't know anything about fashion, and had just $5,000. But she shipped her imperfect idea anyway. Result? A billion-dollar company. Comment below with progress if you've ever spent more time planning something than actually doing it. The perfectionism trap convinces us that we need everything to be flawless before we can move forward. But here's what Steve Jobs understood that most people don't. Section 2, the Steve Jobs principle revealed. Steve Jobs didn't become legendary by creating perfect products. He became legendary by creating products that were good enough to ship, then continuously improving them. Look at the original iPhone from 2007. By today's standards, it was deeply flawed. No copy-paste function, no app store, terrible camera, couldn't even send MMS messages. But Jobs shipped it anyway. Why? Because he understood three crucial principles. Principle 1, done is better than perfect. The iPhone wasn't perfect, but it was revolutionary enough to change the world. Jobs knew that a shipped product teaches you more in 1 month than years of internal testing. Principle 2, iteration beats perfection. Every iPhone since 2007 has been an iteration, an improvement. The iPhone 15 exists because the iPhone 1 shipped imperfectly. Jobs called this failing fast and learning faster. Principle 3, market feedback is gold. The App Store wasn't part of the original iPhone plan. It came from listening to what users actually wanted, not what Apple thought they needed. Reid Hoffman, founder of LinkedIn, puts it perfectly. If you're not embarrassed by the first version of your product, you've launched too late. Drop "iterate" in the comments if this is hitting home for you. But here's where most people get Steve Jobs wrong. Section 3, the misunderstood genius. Popular culture portrays Steve Jobs as an obsessive perfectionist who demanded flawless products. But that's only half the story. Yes, Jobs was detail-oriented, but his real genius was knowing when to be precise and when to ship imperfectly. Let's look at 3 game-changing examples. Example 1, the iPod launch. When Apple launched the iPod in 2001, it only worked with Mac computers, limiting it to just 10% of the computer market. Critics called it a failure, but Jobs shipped it anyway, knowing he could expand compatibility later. Result? The iPod became the foundation for Apple's mobile revolution. Example 2, the App Store revolution. The original iPhone had no third-party apps. Jobs initially wanted complete control, but when developers and users demanded more functionality, he pivoted. The App Store launched a year later and created an entire economy worth billions. Example 3, Apple Maps disaster. In 2012, Apple Maps launched with serious flaws. Wrong directions, missing landmarks, distorted satellite images. It was embarrassing, but instead of pulling it back for years of perfection, Apple kept it live, gathered real-world data, and improved it continuously. Today, Apple Maps rivals Google Maps. Compare this to companies that spent years perfecting products that never launched. Remember Google Wave? Google spent 2+ years perfecting it internally. When it finally launched, nobody cared. The market had moved on. Comment pivot if you've ever seen someone miss opportunities by overplanning. The lesson? Jobs understood that perfection is a moving target in a rapidly changing world. Section 4. The science behind shipping imperfect. There's actual neuroscience behind why the Steve Jobs principle works so effectively. Dr. Amy Edmondson from Harvard Business School discovered something fascinating. Teams that make more mistakes actually perform better in the long run. Why? Because they're learning faster than teams paralyzed by perfectionism. Here's the brain science. When we ship something imperfect, our brains activate the same neural pathways used in rapid learning and adaptation. Perfectionism, on the other hand, activates our brain's threat detection system, flooding us with stress hormones that actually impair creative thinking. Real-world proof. Look at Facebook's original motto, "Move fast and break things." Mark Zuckerberg launched Facebook from his dorm room with basic features and obvious flaws. But by shipping quickly and iterating based on user behavior, Facebook grew from a college project to connecting 3 billion people. Contrast that with Friendster, which launched before Facebook but spent too much time trying to perfect their platform. By the time they launched their perfect version, Facebook had already won the market. The 80-20 rule in action. Research shows that getting something 80% right and shipping it generates more success than spending additional months trying to reach 95% perfection. That extra 15% often becomes irrelevant once real users interact with your product. Type breakthrough if you're starting to see perfectionism differently. Section 5, Real-World Application Strategies. 8 to 10 minutes. Now let's make this practical. How do you apply the Steve Jobs principle in your own life? Strategy 1, the 48-hour rule. Give yourself 48 hours maximum to polish any project, then ship it. Whether it's a business idea, creative project, or even this YouTube video, set a deadline and stick to it. Strategy 2, the feedback loop method. Launch at 80% completion, gather feedback, then improve. Airbnb's founders literally went door to door taking professional photos because early users complained about image quality. They didn't wait to build a perfect photography system. They solved the problem manually first. Strategy 3, the version 1.0. Mindset: always think in versions. Your first attempt is version 1.0, not your final masterpiece. This mental shift removes the pressure of getting everything right immediately. Look at Amazon. Jeff Bezos started with just books, not because it was perfect, but because books were easy to ship and had universal demand. Once that worked, he expanded to everything else. Today, Amazon is worth over $1 trillion. Strategy 4, the good enough test. Ask yourself, is this good enough to solve the core problem for at least one person? If yes, ship it. You can always improve it later based on real feedback. Spanx's Sara Blakely didn't wait for the perfect manufacturing process. She literally drove to North Carolina hosiery mills with her prototype until someone agreed to make it. Imperfect action beats perfect inaction every time. Comment version 1 if you're ready to adopt this mindset. Section 6, overcoming the fear. But let's address the elephant in the room, fear. The real reason people don't ship is fear of judgment, criticism, and failure. Here's what successful people understand. Criticism of your imperfect work is infinitely better than silence around your perfect work that never sees the light of day. When Oprah Winfrey started her talk show, she was criticized for being too emotional and unprofessional. Instead of perfecting her approach in private, she used that feedback to create a more authentic, empathetic style that revolutionized television. James Dyson failed 5,126 times before creating his revolutionary vacuum cleaner. Each failure was actually data, teaching him what didn't work and bringing him closer to what did. The courage formula: fear plus action equals growth. Fear plus perfectionism equals stagnation. Remember, your critics aren't building anything. They're sitting on the sidelines while you're in the arena creating, learning, and improving. Share courage in the comments if you're ready to face the fear and ship anyway. Conclusion and call to action. So here's your challenge. What's one thing you've been holding back because it's not perfect yet? A business idea? A creative project? A conversation you need to have? The Steve Jobs principle isn't about accepting mediocrity. It's about embracing the power of imperfect action. Remember, every expert was once a beginner. Every successful product was once an imperfect version 1.0. Your dreams are too important to wait for perfection. The world needs what you have to offer, even if it's not perfect yet. Here's what I want you to do right now. 1. Hit that subscribe button if this video opened your eyes to a new way of thinking. 2. Smash the like button if you're ready to stop waiting and start shipping. Thanks for watching Meets Wisdom. I'll see you in the next video, where we'll dive into how to turn criticism into your greatest competitive advantage. Until then, keep growing, keep shipping, and keep meeting wisdom along the way.